And those little birds chirping in the background, it's so peaceful.
I,
It
I,
really is.
I can barely even hear them. I don't know where they are. They must be like, well,
I'm
I
guessing
don't know how
outside.
you can hear them, and I barely can.
I'm guessing they're outside. Just a hunch.
Have you got much of the football on over there? It's the European Championships at the minute. Did you even know it was
Didn't
on?
even know.
No.
Did not even know. Not gonna lie to you, Chris. I follow your football about as closely as I follow Alaskan dog sledding.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Meaning, if it's on, I might sit in and watch it. I mean, Alaskan dog sledding actually kind of sounds like a fun thing, doesn't it?
Yeah,
But
you can watch pretty
I'm not
much
gonna
any
seek it out.
sport with enough beer, can't you?
You can make a sport out of just about anything with enough beer, too. Ironically.
Yep, that is also true.
I think some of the most fun I've ever had was the dumbest times I've ever had drinking beer and I don't know, trying to make something out of nothing.
Yeah, also pretty easy to get injured, but there you go.
Well, the beer helps.
Yeah.
The pain starts the next morning, but yeah, the beer helps, doesn't it?
So what have we got?
We do not have a lot going on right now. I mean, we did have the Dubai Open that was going on last week that we haven't talked about yet, so we can talk about that for sure.
Yep.
There was the, I guess, the announcement of SVB and Fedor Gorst with Kachi's comment. We can definitely jump in on that. And then, of course, there are a few regional events around. I mean, I don't really know that I want to be talking about a lot of smaller events, but there is Soaring Eagle going on for the women's professional tour right now. So the WPBA, that is going on. We could give a little discussion to that in a little bit. I think the most fun place to start. What do you want to do? You want to start with the sports washing with Saudi money and people accusing Matchroom of selling out to that, or do you want to start with Fedor and Shane?
I don't know. Should we get the night shot Dubai Open out of the way, and then we can move on to all the other stuff? I think it's only right we actually call out the tournament winner and all the good stuff that was going on. So Filler's won that in a sounds like Fedor. It was an epic final against Kachi.
Filler won it, yeah. Filler over Kachi, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought you said Filler or Fedor in my head. I'm like, no,
no. Filler.
And then Filler won. If in fact Fedor went 2-0, right?
Fedor went 2-0, but like, who gives a shit? He's just won $250,000. So,
well, I would assume he hasn't sobered up since. He probably showed up pissed drunk still.
I bloody hope he did. That is the only way to behave after you win $250,000. You have to go and get drunk for days on end. That's the only way to behave. So good on him.
Yep.
Good on him. Interestingly, what I've seen a bit of, there seems to be quite a lot of players saying it, not saying it publicly, that they're not happy with the break format anymore, and they're not so happy with the pocket size, more the pocket size stuff. People seem to be getting a bit annoyed with it. So Neil said something publicly, and then I know there are a few others aren't happy with it as well. So I think.
What do you think? I mean, you're a WNT pro. What do you think?
Oh, I just don't think there's any other way to. I just don't think there's any other way to go. You've got to make the game tougher. So if the people that are unhappy with the pocket size have any other ideas about how to make it tougher, then let's hear them. I think Carl Boys is the players rep, and I think JJ might be also. So if they've got ideas, get them into those two guys, and they can thrash it out. But otherwise, I just don't see that there's anything else that can be done. It was way, way too easy before, and the top guys were getting beaten off much lesser players more frequently. And now it's just, it's setting itself out the way. The natural order of things is happening. So I obviously don't have a problem with it at all.
Well, don't you? Well, I mean, let's start here. Why do you think Niels has that opinion then? What do you think? It's sour grapes? Do you think it's just he's
more professional than that? I don't think it's sour grapes with him at all. He's top pro and he has been for years. But he is, even though he doesn't look it, he's one of the older pros now, and he's certainly, out of all of the top guys, he's probably had the longest, most consistent career out of anybody on the tour. Would you say?
No, Ralph.
Okay, yeah, Ralph. But I mean, Niels. isn't
He's
too
there.
far behind him, is he? Really?
Yeah, yeah. Let's not get
I'm not
carried
saying
away.
age-wise. I'm saying consistency near the
No,
top of the game. You
well,
know,
I'm saying Ralph is 50, 54-ish. I mean, Niels is only 45. I mean,
yeah,
he's still a decade past him. It's a
still a
lot of
decade back.
work.
But
That's
Niels is considerably higher up in the pecking order of things, isn't he? Is what I'm getting at. He's still nearish the top, and he's
nah,
been
I
there
mean,
for.
I don't agree with that. I mean, Ralph has made like every final 64. The difference with Ralph is he just
Yeah,
can't get past that round of 32. But he's
yeah,
in the round of 64 every single time.
yeah. But
If
anyway,
if anything, I think Ralph at this point is still more consistent than Niels.
okay,
He's
but
always
this isn't.
there.
If we forget that for a sec, 'cause it's not about Ralph and Niels. It's about if
Sure.
Niels is the one.
Yep.
He's he is one of the players with the most consistent high level career out there for sure. And for him to be saying it, I think maybe it's a hangover from the past. He's so used to playing on the tables with the bigger pockets, and it's so ingrained in him now that he's struggling to break out of it. All of the potting angles that were there before for him aren't there anymore. And all of the experience he's built up over the years of sliding balls in off rails and things, that margin that he had before is kind of being eaten away at, and not to his. It's absolutely not to his advantage. So it's a tough one for him, I think. Yeah, he even went as far as saying it was like playing snooker, which is, I know what he's getting at. Obviously, it's not, but it's, yeah, I don't think it's sour grapes. Do you?
Yeah. I mean, I don't see how it's anything but that.
Don't know.
I mean, I would like to get. So let me say this: I would like to give Niels the benefit of the doubt on that, but I just don't think that you can look at it anyways but that, given the fact that he is one of very, very few players who are saying that, and for the most part, most of the players are raving about the pocket size. If
Yeah,
if if he's one of only two, a handful, two, three, four players that are, and he's not having the success when he calls it out. I mean, how can you look at it besides anything else than that?
I just don't think it's.
Because it's
I
Niels. Because it's Niels. That's
yeah,
why, right?
I wouldn't discredit his opinions
Yeah.
as valid as anybody's. From a
And that's
playing
that's a real
perspective.
argument because
But
because Niels has been nothing but class act his entire
yeah,
career, right?
exactly. Yeah.
But
So
if this was, let me ask you this then: if this was, let's say, let's go straight there, Earl Strickland, then what?
yeah, I mean,
Or
how
Mike DeShane?
okay? How much of what Earl says do people take seriously anymore? I mean, lovely guy and everything, but people, it's because of his, bipolar and things. You never know what is real and what's not with him, so you wouldn't take his opinion on that too much to heart. I wouldn't think, but
Well, I think
it is a
because
tricky one.
Niels is so widely respected,
Yeah,
and he
he is,
he
isn't he?
has he has basically an unblemished career. I mean, across the board. I mean, I cannot think back to a single controversy Niels has ever been a part of. I mean, I'm sure there's something out there. I just don't remember any of it, and maybe there isn't. I mean, you ask any of the 18 to 29-year-old players in Europe, and you ask them who their hero is, and about 60% of them say Niels Fine. I mean, he's a consummate professional, but I just can't I just can't see that if this was a player like I don't know, like a Earl or a Mike DeShane or even a player like something like Roman Hebler, player like that that's also well respected, that it wouldn't be looked at as anything but this.
Yeah, maybe so, but he's the only person that knows, isn't he? But his
Yeah,
opinion's still worth a lot to a lot of
absolutely.
people, isn't it? So
Worse than worth a heck of a lot
yeah,
more than most.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but hopefully it's something he gets over. It's here to stay, isn't it? It's not going to change now.
Well, he's
There are
he's a
still
he's a very small minority. I mean, most players love it, the break box and the pocket size. Now, I personally don't think they need to go any smaller than the four that they. I know that they've experimented around with 3 and 7/8, and I think that really just does fundamentally change the game when you're starting to take away the ability to actually use sides of the pocket. I think that that's just fundamentally wrong. But
yeah, I mean, the only issue I have with the tables, specifically the diamond tables, I guess, from the open events that I've played in. So we looked. I was practicing with Carl before the UK Open, and we were looking at the pocket size. And Emily came over, and we were measuring them, and we didn't have calipers or anything. It was just a measuring tape. But the pocket sizes weren't ultra consistent. The cut wasn't ultra consistent, and there was definitely some flaws there from the long rail jaw. If you're looking at one of the corner pockets, the long rail jaw and the short rail jaw, the long rail jaw is slightly lower than the short rail jaw, which is a bit weird, and it's just inconsistent. So whatever, I think they're shimming them, right? So I think they're standard diamonds, and then they're shimming them to the size. That's never going to be an exact science.
Zero chance. Zero chance. Yeah.
Gluing bits together and all that sort of stuff. So I think that's what they're doing, or they certainly were doing that before. If anybody knows any different, please let us know. But if they can get all of those tables consistent at the right pocket size, it needs to be precision on the button at 4 inches. Then it'll be fine.
I'm definitely with you there. And honestly, maybe bringing on a table mechanic onto the podcast just to talk about what actually goes into setting up those tables might be of value.
Oh, definitely.
I think that might be fun.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. But the tables are 99.9% level and everything when we get to the event, so the installation isn't so much of an issue. It's just that pocket size and the consistency of the cut, I guess, across all of the. If you've got 30 tables at a tournament, just making sure that it's all the same from one table to another. I played on one of the tables at the UK Open, and one of the bottom pockets, it just seemed tighter than the rest of them. So putting balls down the rail at speed, one of the pockets was spitting them out for me and the other guy, and the other one took a couple that maybe it shouldn't have at speed. So it was just a bit odd. But it's difficult to get everything perfect all the time, isn't it? We're complaining about little things now.
Well, and I mean, I don't know the time that they have to set these things up. I know for a lot of events, like let's say the U.S. Open, I don't know the schedule before and after this event,
Yeah.
but I know that during the event last year there was a giant conference downstairs in the bottom room.
That's right. Yeah.
And I mean, the U.S. Open is the dates are. I mean, I guess I don't know them off the top of my head, but do we know that there is an event that ends 2 days prior to that and they only have a day to set up 30 something tables and get them level and get them settled? I mean,
it's amazing how they do it.
It's one of those situations where like there's not a lot of money in pool. You can't rent out the UK, or you can't rent out Harrah's probably for an extra 4 days so that the tables have plenty enough time to get set up and settled in and leveled off and get all the pockets right, where that's a difference between a lot of sports and pools. Like you kind of got to get these things in and out in a matter of not even days but hours. Where these golf courses, like for example, the US Open was just played, they start prepping that course like a week and a half in advance to get ready for this. Like nobody can touch that course.
Nobody's on the course for like 3-4 weeks beforehand, are they?
Yeah, I mean they're prepping that. They're prepping that for at least a week in advance.
Getting
that ready for whatever they're going to be doing, and it's something that in an ideal world, I'm sure would Emily like to have the event or the rooms rented out 3 days prior so that you can get the tables in, get them 100% look at each individual one, make sure that everything is perfectly uniform across tables. Maybe in the future that'll be an option. And to be honest, maybe it's an option now, and maybe that was just one, event that was a little goofy.
There's the table settling in and everything. I don't think there's ever been an issue with that at any of the matchroom events. The tables have always been level. The only time you might notice a table isn't level, funnily enough, the only time I noticed it where it was bad was the Moscone Cup last year or the year before when they had the overhead shot of the players lagging. It was on the Rasson table. And
Yeah, the sky's
do you
ball
remember?
ended up scratching, right?
Yeah, there's something weird happened. Yeah, but that's a single table event, so the logistics around that will be completely different. Um, but yeah, the tables and everything are perfect. It's just if players are complaining and they don't like things, there's an avenue to get your suggestions in and stuff, isn't there now, by talking to JJ and Carl? So they should
Yep.
just go ahead and do it, I guess, if they got any better suggestions.
Yeah, yeah, I guess I agree. I don't think that there's anything wrong with the format. I think that the break is absolutely perfect at this point.
Yeah,
I mean, there's enough let's say inconsistency with the break now that you're not guaranteed a shot, you're not guaranteed a ball down, and you're not guaranteed not to go off two cushions and scratch into the bottom, or drawing it off one cushion into the middle. It's there's enough inconsistency that, yeah, it sucks if you're getting a couple of those bad rolls, but as a viewer, I don't know. I think it's kind of nice.
there's some stuff around placement of the two ball as well. Um,
Well, yeah,
there's a bit of
that's
science behind that.
and that's something that's never going to change, right? Because I mean, if even if you rack them um, perfectly random, let's say, there are spots on the rack where if you put the two ball and you could randomly put the spot, on the head ball or underneath the head ball, and that's going to send the two ball up table very, very, very consistently. And if you put it down in the middle spot, it's going to be banking back and forth towards the middle pockets. And it could be work out to where your opponent gets the two ball in an ideal spot 6 out of 7 times, and you get it 2 out of 7 times, and you're at an inherent disadvantage just because random luck. I mean, that you're right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think what they've worked out is that the two ball should go on the points. It should go on one of the 3 points.
Left, right, or
Um,
bottom.
yeah, I think that's what they worked out, and I don't know whether it's going to be brought in. I saw one of the referees doing it at the UK Open because one of the pros said something to him about, oh, aren't you supposed to be doing this? And he said, oh yeah, I think so. So one of the refs was putting the two ball on the point. Then I asked my ref, is the two ball supposed to be on the point? He said, no, I don't think so. So I don't know what was going on there, but if they can come up with something like that just to make sure the two ball is going to be as random as possible, then I think in a game where there's so many moving parts, that's pretty much all you can do, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I guess just going back to the original, what we were talking about, Niels and Ralph. Niels is 47 years old, so I got that wrong. I thought he was 45. And Ralph is 55, and I thought he was 54. So
He, he
it's
looks fucking unbelievable for 47 hills, doesn't he? Jesus Christ.
yeah, he does. Honestly. And then if you look at their rankings, Niels is, where did I have this? Which tab? I got way too many tabs open. Niels is currently number 26 with 50,000, a shade over 50,000. And Ralph is in 41st with 33 and a half. So he's
Okay.
about 15,000 behind, give or take. Actually about 13,000 behind, give or take. 17,000 behind, sorry. 17,000 behind, give or take. Uh, I mean, almost a decade older though.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
consistent.
Yep. Yep.
So, I don't know. Well, let's move on to the sports watching, because there has been quite a bit of discussion before I guess the World Championship moving to Saudi Arabia, and still quite a bit of discussion afterwards. What's your take on it? What do you think? Is Saudi Arabia, are we giving into human rights violations by allowing Saudi Arabia to have our event?
I don't think that has anything to do with sports. I think the two should always. I just think it should be kept separate. There's no room in sport for politics, whether that be taking a knee or wearing a rainbow armband or any kind of political statement. That's not what sports is for. That's my personal opinion. If you want to take a knee or wear a rainbow armband, whatever, I don't care. But my opinion is it should be left alone. It's one of the only spaces where you can get away from some of that bullshit. So yeah, it should be left alone. But there's quite a lot of chatter online at the minute on boxing forums and lots of places about Saudi possibly buying out or putting a bid together at least to buy out Matchroom, Top Rank, and Golden Boy. So the two other big boxing promotions, or two out of, Golden Boy's not huge, but they're pretty big. So that would be interesting. I think they're talking about a $5 billion deal to buy them out. So it would be to buy out those companies, plus their rosters of fighters in the case of Top Rank and Golden Boy, and all of the contracts. But in the case of Matchroom, I don't know if it's just Matchroom Boxing or if it would be Matchroom as a whole. So you'd assume that Matchroom Boxing must make up 95, 96% of the revenue that Matchroom Sports makes as a whole.
I don't think it's that high. I think isn't darts quite big? I mean,
I just, the numbers involved in boxing are insane. But let's say it was let's for argument's sake say it was 80% then.
yeah,
Quite.
I mean, you would know better than I would. I just think. I mean, I'm just thinking that they're. I mean, I guess we're on DAZN because of boxing, so it must be pretty big. So yeah, I mean, you might be right.
Yeah, it's huge, and there's different relationships there. So, I think where the PDC, the WNT, and the World Snooker Tour are concerned, Matchroom have a controlling hand in that. But I think in realistic terms, those three entities are supposed to be separate from Matchroom. But I just don't see that that's the case, because Barry and
Well,
Eddie
why in
make
the hell? I mean, you and I both know that the boxing, the snooker, and well, really, those two are funding what Emily is doing with the WNT, right?
Yeah,
And the bass fishing, and probably
it's where the
whatever
seed
else
money
they're in.
comes from, right? It's where so they can have, they can run at a loss for a while before something
Correct.
becomes
There's
commercially
zero, yeah, there's
profitable.
zero chance that they're going to want to keep those. If they get rid of the boxing and the snooker and the darts, there's zero chance that the WNT has any sort of long-term viability. Just where they're at right now, maybe in 5 years from now, but is
They'd
there going to be?
struggle. They'd struggle to survive on their own long term. They would be exposed to different risks, wouldn't they, if they were on their own?
And if they had a $5 billion purse, maybe that has a little bit longer of a runway. But you know, are they going to want to continue to run the WNT if they get a $5,000 or $5 billion purse in their pocket and they
No, you just don't. I don't know. So Matchroom don't. They're not public. They're a family-owned company. They're not publicly listed. So the only time I heard anyone put a number on Matchroom was Eddie Hearn a couple of years ago. And he said that they had been, I think he said that they had been approached by a private equity firm or something similar,
Sure.
and that the number that he thought they were worth was around about $1 billion. Now he's saying that publicly, it's for all sorts of reasons. Now whether they are worth that or whether anybody would pay it, who knows? But
well, I'm guessing that if he says he's worth $1 billion, they're worth probably about 600 million. That's just a hunch.
just who who knows? It's a family-owned business.
Yeah,
you could go. You might be able to go and get some sets of accounts from somewhere. You could probably find something, but who knows? I don't know what would happen long term to the other sports if Matchroom Boxing got sold off, or if just Matchroom as a whole got sold off. I don't know. There's the deal with Saudi anyway for 10 years for the pool for the World Pool Championships, but for everything else, I just don't. I'm not sure what that would mean. They've caused a stir in the sporting world anyway, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to sit behind your glass walls and cast stones, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who that is a really long link, Matt. Check out page 10 onward. Okay. Off I go. I'm gonna halfway pay attention to talking to you while checking out this link that Matt posted, because he is our researcher extraordinaire.
Excellent.
But there's a lot of people who, I mean, if I could say this as bluntly as possible, they don't have two nickels to rub together, who tell people that how they need to not only accept money, but who they can accept it from. And the idea that we're going to be in a situation where you cannot take any money that has never done anything wrong it's a bit goofy and a bit rich to me.
Oh, I mean, like,
Because if
have you ever taken an Uber? Because if you have,
you support
Saudi
sexual
own,
assault, yeah.
well, yeah,
Well,
well,
not
no,
only
Saudi own the vast majority of Uber, right? They own,
that to be honest
they
with you,
own,
that I don't know. To be honest
they
with you,
do,
I don't know that.
they own the vast majority of Uber. They own,
I personally take
they might
Lyft.
own all of Heathrow Airport. You know, they're just intrinsically,
Well,
you know, they're
they're looking to put together. I think there's a bunch of sports teams, big NBA teams, NFL teams that Saudi Arabia is trying to get into, not only being a majority or a minority or a majority stake owners of a lot of different sports entities in the U.S. And there's a big debate as to whether or not they're going to allow that. And there's also a lot of chatter about the NBA, having two expansion teams, one back in Seattle because the Seattle Supersonics went to Oklahoma City. And they want a team back. So there's talk about an expansion team there and then an expansion team in Las Vegas. And there's a big debate whether or not they're going to allow Saudi Arabia to own one of those, as well as I think there's some big NFL team. I think it was maybe the Eagles or something like that that just went up for sale. Saudi Arabia wants to buy that. I mean, there's a bunch of different things that Saudi Arabia is trying to get an influence on.
yeah.
They're gonna do it. Spoiler alert: money is king. I mean,
Well,
people's
they want,
morality is only as deep as the price tag attached, the amount of zeros. Let's put it that way.
yeah, I do. You know, it's nothing to do with us what people do in their, in their own countries. As much as we would like them to behave like us, I'm sure they would like us to behave like them. So who says who's right? Saudi own two big football teams in the English Premier League. Well, I say big football teams. They own Man City, not a big
I was gonna
football
say, I
team.
think they own Manchester, right?
Well, Man City, they're not a
Or
big
Man City.
team. They're not a big club, but they bought them, and now they've won the Premier League 4 out of the last 6 years or something. And they bought Newcastle United, who are a big club, and it's causing absolute mayhem because there's no wage caps or anything over here, and there's no
Yeah, they're
caps
just
on how
buying
much.
championships. Right.
Yeah, they're just buying it. Yeah, so they've messed the whole thing up, and now Man City, or the Saudi owners, I should say, are taking the Premier League to court, and they could bankrupt them. Really, they really could bankrupt them if they, if they can break their entire governance system, and f the whole thing up. So
Yeah, I mean that's always a really weird thing, right? Because like the same goes for baseball in the U.S.
do you not have wage
There
caps in baseball? Salary caps?
there are not any.
No.
They are for football, and that's a hard cap. So for
Yeah.
our football, that's a hard cap. You cannot go over that no matter what.
Right.
In basketball, there is a soft cap, meaning this is what you can spend, and if you go over that, you can go over that, but you have to start paying luxury taxes, which is basically just like stupid amounts of money to the league to basically say, all right, you're going over the league or you're going
Okay.
over the cap. You have to pay X. I think it's something stupid like every dollar you go over your salary cap or something like that, it costs you like 60% extra. So
So
like if
60 cents on the dollar. Wow. Okay.
yeah, in addition to, of course, the
Yeah. Yeah.
salary. So, like, if our cap was at 100 million and I'm paying out 150 million, I'm actually paying out
180
the
million.
extra. Yeah,
Yeah.
basically, yeah, give or take.
Wow.
So it's I'm making up numbers, but I'm pretty sure it's something huge like that, like
Yeah. Yeah.
60
It's
to
good.
80%.
Good
Matt
idea.
Poland, I'm sure knows this, but um, but our baseball is not like that at all. It's you could spend as much money as you want. And the Yankees and the Dodgers, they're always spending 50% more. I'm a Brewers fan from Wisconsin, and our payroll is always amongst the smallest. But what hasn't happened in baseball that has happened probably in yours is the big market teams are not winning the World Series. In fact, the Dodgers, I think, have won one World Series maybe in the last like 40 or 50 years. The Yankees haven't won since I want to say 2008.
Really?
The
Wow.
Yeah, I mean the Orioles are amongst the smallest payroll in the league right now, and I think I think I mean I could pull up the standings. I want to say they're one of the best teams. I mean, they are one of the best teams. I'm coming with this off the top of my head, but most of the top teams right now are not. They're not the
Not the
highest
famous
payroll.
teams. Yeah.
Yeah,
It just shows you that, the marketing boom in sports during the late 90s and early 2000s. So you got some really globally famous teams from, I know who the Yankees are, who the Dodgers are, who Man United are, and all of that sort
yeah,
of stuff. Those teams aren't winning anymore, but they're still the most profitable.
yeah. Well, so if you look at the Yankees have the best record. The Cleveland Guardians, their payroll is not high at all. Seattle Mariners, theirs is not high. The Orioles are not high. Minnesota Twins are not high. The Royals won the World Series maybe in 2012 or something like that, and they had like the smallest market, or they had the smallest payroll in the league that year. I mean, if you look across like the highest payrolls, it doesn't translate to winning in baseball. Now, I don't know why that is. I don't know why that is in baseball when it's not that way in your football, but I don't know.
I don't. Well, the players in real football, our football, are hugely overvalued and misvalued. So there's no rhyme or reason to how much a player might go for at any given moment in time. You can get somebody who's, I don't want to get into it. It's a rabbit hole that pisses me off.
Yeah. In fact, if you look at now that I'm kind of pulling this up, the highest payrolls in baseball, the New York Mets have almost $310 million payroll, and they are currently sitting at, where are they at? I can't even see it. They're 35-38 with a $310 million payroll. For example, the Baltimore Orioles have the 25th highest, and it's $100 million, so a third of that, and they're sitting at 48-25.
Shit.
So a 66% win percentage, and the Mets have a 48% win percentage.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. In fact, the Yankees have a 51-25. They have a $306 million, and then it drops off to 250, and that's Houston that has a losing record. Philadelphia has a huge one. They're 250 million. They're 49-25, and then it kind of drops off pretty fast. But anyway, neither here nor there. That's baseball.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that 4 out of 6 you said that they've won the Premier League.
Yeah, 4 out of 6 or something. Yeah, or 5 out of 7. Something like that.
And who's on that team? Just out of curiosity. I mean,
people that you would know. Kevin De Bruyne. No. Phil Foden.
I know Mbappe.
He plays well. He did play for PSG. He played for Paris, but he's just moved to Real Madrid. No, I can name the whole team for you, but I don't think you're going to know any of them, are you?
Probably not.
Haaland, you might know him.
Are they that much more talented than any other team, or do they just they have a good coach? Do they have?
They got the best coach, and they've got most of the best players in the English league. Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, so they are the strongest. They are the strongest team, but it does take money and lots of other bits and pieces to put that together. So the teams in the Premier League, they're allowed to lose. You're allowed to lose 110 million over 3 years, over a running 3 years. So you don't even need to be in profit. You can lose money and still be allowed to operate. Only business in the world where, that is viable, that you can lose 100 million over 110 million over 3 years. And that's where the problem with the foreign owners come in, because the foreign owners come, they dip their toe in, they stay for a little bit, then they'll leave a club in disarray with loads of debt. Another foreign owner comes in. There's no fit and proper persons test for buying clubs. So that's something that they'll be looking at in the American League for foreign owners, definitely. So you can just come and buy it. You don't have to prove that you've got to prove where your funds come from. But apart from that, you don't have to you don't have to prove yourself to be anything to own a club, which is silly, because the football clubs are slightly different. You can't move a club from one city to another. So they're part of your city. They're part of the community. So having somebody come in and bankrupt your football club can decimate a city. It can ruin it. So there's other considerations there for normal football. But yeah, anyway, Saudi and sports washing. I think everybody should just get over it now. We've had so many big events there that not in all sorts of sports that.
Well, what sport hasn't accepted Saudi money at this point? I mean, golf built an entire tour on it.
Directly or indirectly, every sport that's worth talking about, even down to minor-ish sports like nine ball, have all had money indirectly or directly, I would assume.
A lot. I mean, there's boxing. Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely a ton.
Yeah.
And why should I mean? I mean, it would be a pocket billiards thing to do, to be like, oh, we're gonna stand in our morals, right, and then just like turn it away, because that's just another way that we're shooting ourselves in the foot over and over and over again, right? But
we're on a
don't
good
get me.
track.
Well, I don't think that anybody's going to sit here and say like the track record of the Saudi government is flawless. I mean, nobody's going to sit around and say that, like, right? That'd be stupid for us to say that.
Say that about any government, could you?
There's certainly, I mean, there's certainly a track record across a lot of different, governments throughout the years. I mean, we basically decimated an entire an entire demographic of people when we came over here, right? But somehow we're, as a country, going to try to stay holier than thou. I mean, don't get me wrong, you should be trying to grow and learn, and I think in a lot of ways the U.S. has, but this also theoretically could be the Saudi Arabia growing and learning too, and diversifying and in opening up to the Western world, or whatever you want to say. Maybe it's not, and they're just trying to get rid of all of their bad history by forgetting it with some sport. I don't know. Time will tell.
I don't know anybody who went to the tournament, or anybody that's been to any sporting event over there and that's come back and didn't love it, or anybody who had a bad experience. So, just let them get on with it. They're willing to prop up, or even in some instances raise sports to a different level, like ours. They're raising it to a different level. So we shouldn't be criticizing them for things that none of us are experts in.
I'll guarantee you, Federer's not giving back any of his $250,000.
I wonder how he got paid.
Hopefully with a wheelbarrow full of hundreds.
I'd want it delivered in a truck in ones. That's what you want, just so you can see it.
Why not a giant swimming pool full of nickels?
What, Scrooge McDuck style?
Yeah.
I'm up for that.
That'd be nice, right?
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, the guy in shit.
I wonder how much is $250,000. I wonder what the volume of $250,000 in ones is.
So, in notes, somebody will have figured it out.
Hey, Matt, get it going. Matt Boland, you got a job, buddy. Well, what is it? Those when somebody hands the 110s would be $10,000. So I guess it would be the same equivalent would be $100.
So it'd be 50,000 ones, isn't it?
Well, have you ever seen Dodgeball? You've ever seen the movie Dodgeball?
Yeah.
So like when he's in the hotel room and he's trying to convince him to like not play the game, and he's like, maybe you've never seen $100,000 in one spot, and he opens up the briefcase and it's just like one single stack of $100 bills in a band, right? I mean, I think that's for coming. I don't think that was actually. I don't even remember honestly how much money he was offering him at that point. But I mean, if 100 ones is this equivalent of that band of $10,000 in hundreds, then theoretically that band you would need to have 250 of those.
Hang on.
So 250 of those. That's a lot.
Jesus Christ.
I'm guessing the volume of that would be about equivalent to 2 shoeboxes full of ones. Just a hunch.
Do you know
Maybe
what?
3.
It's not as much as what you'd think.
I would say about 2 shoeboxes.
Hang on.
2 to 2.5, maybe 3 shoeboxes.
Oh, man. It's 89.5 feet high, if that helps.
89.5 feet high. Well, I mean, I could calculate the volume of that and then calculate the volume of a shoebox.
Have we really fucking run out of this? We've run out of shit to talk about, and now we're doing this.
To be fair, we really didn't have a lot to talk about today anyways. We're kind of just, scraping the barrel. We're still going to talk about Fedor and Shane, so we are going to actually talk about something real, but 89 feet tall, you said?
89.5.
I mean, to be honest, that sounds, by the time that you take it and you put that over, the duration of a shoebox, I think that's about right. I don't freaking know. Sounds good.
Volume.
I mean, I have a math degree. I could figure this out. What are the dimensions of a $1 bill?
It's 0.0 .0043 inches.
I don't care about the inches. I only care about the length and the width. Because I already know what the width of it is. It's 89.5 feet.
Height.
The height, yes, but I need to know the dimensions. So the width times the length. This is riveting stuff.
Well, there's nobody watching anymore. I can guarantee that.
And if they are, I'm really questioning. So it's basically 6 times 6 inches by 2.5 by 89.5 feet. This is riveting stuff, Times 12. So it's 1,000 inches. I don't care. I don't care about this. I do care. I really do care, actually, and I'm going to figure it out on my free time.
Yeah, do that.
just so I know if $250,000 in ones can fit in 2 shoeboxes. All right, let's talk about Fedor and Shane. I guess what was it? Fedor. Was it Shane? Shane? No, Shane called out. Well, Shane kind of said, "All right, let's do it, whatever." And then Fedor's like, "I'm not letting you back out now." And then it ends up happening. So I don't know. Talk to me. What is your initial thought on it?
Fedor's like a monster, but is he that good at 10-ball?
He's got one of the best He's got one of the best 10-ball breaks in the world. I mean, his 10-ball break is incredible. It might not be quite. Yeah. I mean, it might not be quite at the level of Shane's, but it's all as good as Tyler's. I mean, that's what Tyler's
known for. It's as good as Tyler's, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Okay. And they haven't said the rules yet, but I'm assuming they're both just going to let each other break from the middle, right? Rather than doing...
Yeah, they'll break from anywhere they want.
Anywhere they want, yeah.
And they'll both be breaking absolutely from the middle. Just inside the diamond.
Yeah.
The first diamond. I mean, unless they're doing hand rack. I mean, I can't tell whether or not it's hand rack. If it's hand rack, they'll be breaking from the rail. If it's not hand rack, they'll be breaking from the middle.
Yeah. But you're going to assume that they're both going to feel like they can run the bigger package, so they're going to want break from the middle with a template, aren't they? So.
Yeah. I mean, I can't see a situation where either one of them wouldn't want a template. I mean, I guess if one of them wouldn't want it, I guess maybe it's Shane. Maybe.
Sorry.
But Shane has a better break. It's not by a lot, but it's I think it's definitely there.
I honestly can't remember watching Fedor play 10-ball and breaking from the middle, so I honestly don't know. But fundamentally so good. You just think after the break, who's going to miss more balls? Who's going to miss the least balls? And you'd have to give Fedor the edge at the minute, wouldn't you?
I wouldn't look at it that personally. I wouldn't look at it that way. I would look at it as who's going to create the most opportunities, and I think Shane's going to create more opportunities for himself. Now, I do think he's going to miss more balls. Don't get me wrong, but I think he's also going to create more opportunities than Fedor will with his break.
Well, I said to my mates the other day, they asked me about it, and I said that I thought Shane would win purely because of his break. So You're
I
saying
mean,
Federer's got a good break.
have you ever played like those video games where like it's like speed is 0 to 100 and then the agility is 0 to 100 and then
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
each player has like a little like
yeah.
if Shane's break is at like a 98, Fedor's is at like a 96.
Okay, I didn't know that. So
It's
I've been
that,
telling
yeah.
him
I mean,
it's
it's that close. I mean,
Shane.
Fedor's break is absolutely incredible, 10 ball. I mean,
Okay.
look at the look at all of. I mean, it's a little bit different because Fedor didn't actually break head on for a lot of those Predator Tour stops. But how many of those things did he win?
Yeah, that's why I asked because I mean he was breaking from the side in a lot of those tournaments, and that's
All
the
of
only time I
everyone was.
recall seeing him play
I,
Temple. That's
I,
the
I
only
should say
time.
this. Everybody broke from the side except for Eklund because Eklund just
Yeah,
hit
he's
him
fucking
400 miles an hour from the middle,
nuts.
and but everybody, even Shane, was breaking from the side in
Yeah,
most of those events. So.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I've been telling people Shane, but you obviously think Fedor then.
Man, I mean, I've been thinking on this match for a long time now, and I'm still undecided on it, to be honest with you, because I think that Shane is going to. I mean, by the end of it, I think Shane is going to have missed 20 balls, and I think Fedor is going to have missed 15 balls. But are
Mhm.
those 5 extra games going to make up for that 2% in edge that I give Shane's break?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And
Yeah.
and by the end of it, I mean, let's put it this way: I think that Shane should win, or I think that Shane is going to win. But if you told me that one of these players was going to win by 30 games, there's zero chance nobody in the world is not going to take Fedor.
Let me ask you this: if if Fedor was having all of the 50,000 on himself, and Shane was only having 25,000 on himself, and the rest was coming from backers, how do you think that would affect it?
What?
Do you think it would affect it at all?
Say it again. Say it again.
If Fedor was having all of the money on himself, no backers, and Shane was only having half the money on himself and using the other 25 grand as backers money, do you think that would affect the outcome?
No, because I don't think you realize how many players don't actually play on their own money no matter what. Not
I
only
do.
because
I do know. What I'm saying
okay,
is, I thought when they eventually had this big set, they'd play for like 200 grand or something. But the numbers a lot smaller than what I thought it would be. So I thought 50k. They both got 50k to back themselves, and I thought they'd just have it. But Shane's using backers, isn't he? And Fedor probably is, but he hasn't said it publicly. I don't think.
well, a lot of these situations, and what I'm saying is different in a sense because a lot of players are in debt to their backers,
Mm,
meaning they have
yeah,
they
you
have a
can't
couple
do that.
losses on it and then they owe their backers another swing, right, to try to
Yeah,
get even. A lot of players do that. Now, I don't think that Shane or Fedor are like in debt to their backers at this point. I don't think that that's a thing, but there are a lot of especially US players, especially like those kind of middling US players
yeah,
that they owe their backers a swing. So they can't just go off like if Tony Chohan is going to play me a set for $100,000 playing one pocket, well, not only is he a lock to win, he's like he could literally probably take a nap halfway through the set and just let me continue shooting on a 10-second shot clock with ball in hand every time, and he still is probably going to wake up and win the match, right? But the thing is like his backers, he still can't just like put his own money up there to win free
yeah,
money because he owes a lot of he owes the backers a chance. And I'm using Tony as an example just because he's widely considered one of the best one pocket
yeah.
players. Not saying that Tony is this, although he's been on the wrong side of a lot of his matchups over the last couple of years, so it's very possible.
Recently, yeah,
The idea is generally speaking, when you have a backer, you have to give them first swings at everything because you can't just pick and choose. All right, I'm in a bad game here. Why don't you take this one over? Right?
yeah. No,
You're
I
in. You're
understand that.
yeah. So I would say that probably both of them are going to be backed in some sense, whether it's 100% or whether it's 40,000 or 30,000 or 20,000. I'm guessing that both players will be in some sort of way backed.
Yeah, yeah. They probably made agreements with people years ago that you'll always be allowed to have a piece of my action, and that's probably going
Yeah,
to carry on
yeah, and
forever.
this is what you get for that. It's not just it's not a one way street where like the
Oh,
players
of
are
course.
held at
No,
gunpoint.
absolutely.
Yeah, like I'm sure Fedor hasn't paid for a room and board for ever. And I mean, Jim is saying I don't know if he's talking about me or if he's talking about him or if it's my Wisconsin accent or what. But I don't think Am I saying Fedor's name wrong? I'm not saying Fedor's name wrong. Where I don't
Fedor.
Fedor.
No,
So
I
my
think no. You all sound a bit weird to me, but no, you
Well,
don't
I mean,
sound.
it could be my Wisconsin
There's
accent, eh?
no Fedor. Oh, he's saying you should say it Fedor. I think that's
I
what he's
mean,
saying.
the E makes an E sound, and I'm saying Fedor.
Oh, I see what he's saying. Yeah, it does sound like he's saying a name. And now that we keep saying his name, I can't actually remember how to say it properly now. I can't remember how I say it.
Well, you're saying Fedor.
Right, so Gorst is playing Shane.
I still think it's Fedor. I mean, I still don't think
Fedor.
I think it's just my accent because I don't think
Yeah.
that Fedor is wrong.
Um,
Fe,
in
fe,
fairness,
fe,
unless this Jim Monday guy knows how to pronounce Russian names correctly, because I actually don't.
well, and not only that, it's actually not Fedor because the Russian pronunciation of his name is not the same way that we pronounce it.
I'm sure it's not.
Because I remember when we were doing the COVID those isolation tournaments, I was doing the VG events, and I asked Fedor off screen like, is this how to pronounce your name? Because at the time, I mean, this was back in 2020. I mean, he was still not the player that he was now. He was a good player, but he wasn't the player he was now. And I specifically asked him like, is Fedor Gorst right? And he's like, it's good enough for an American, is what he said. So nobody pronounces his name right, is what I got out of it. So
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. Yeah, I don't know. I'd love to just, from a selfish, nosy point of view, it's none of my business, but I'd love to know about some of these deals, about the backers and all the ins and outs of it. I'm sure there are
yeah,
some players out there that are so far in the hole that they're not even allowed to play $5 a rack without letting somebody know.
I don't. Well, I mean, most of these backers are degenerate gamblers, right? I mean, you
Who's the
have
worst
to.
money player ever?
I mean, I'm going to get myself in trouble if I give you my answer, but I'll give you my answer off air.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, what would go into being the worst money player of all times? You have to have nearly unlimited gamble. You have to be willing to call out your opponents anytime that you want a game, and you have to lose most of the time.
Yeah, just somebody who makes bad games.
Yeah. The problem with most of these people are nits, right? A lot of them are nits. A lot of pool players are nits. So the people who are the worst gamblers at all time don't make it very long in the industry.
What does nit mean? Sorry.
You basically you only gamble if you think you have the nuts.
Oh, okay, right. So you're tight. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So like if you and me like if you and me were to play, and I wouldn't gamble with you, but I'd gamble with, let's say, Mike Pinozzo.
Okay, yeah. I'm with you.
Like the idea is like, yeah, you can't win, but Mike can.
Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah. I'd never given up the right amount of weight and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
You see? Did you see what I did there? That was kind
Yeah,
of
I
funny.
just chose to ignore you.
Yeah, it's probably better that way. But yeah, I mean that is yeah, that's kind of what a nit is. And like I said, Jim, it doesn't matter whether that they need a backer. The point is like once you have a backer and you've used a backer in the past,
Yeah.
generally speaking, you can't just say, all right, you're not backing, get me in a year from now when I play filler, or get me in a year when I play Kachi. This one I'm gonna bet on my own. Like if you have a backer, you have a backer. You can't just like pick and choose when they get to put their money up.
Yeah.
So that's correct. Neither one of them need a backer because they have plenty of money, but you can't just have a fair weather backer that you only cash in whenever you're afraid you might lose a match. But I don't. I guess give me it's a race to 100, 20, rail yard billiards, 10 ball, $100,000. Who do you think wins and what's the score? I mean, obviously we're going to talk about this many times from now until August 15th, but as you're looking at it right now, it's not.
Things are just going so good for Fedor at the moment, and I love backing against second. I love backing second favorite, so I'll go with Shane.
I think that it is personal enough for Shane that I think that he is going to be prepared for this in ways that he is not necessarily prepared for other events.
Do you
I
think
think
he
that this
feels he's being disrespected a little bit in
Oh,
some way?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No way. No way he doesn't. I mean, Shane Van Boening, literally nobody would play him in the world for like 6, 7, 8 years. And when they didn't like it. I mean, Chang Jung Lin, I think
I'm with you. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
still one of the best matches I've ever watched in my entire life. But I mean, Jason stepped up and played him in a race for 120. I don't think Jason got to 90. Dennis stepped up and played him. I don't think he got to 100.
They
Chang
go
Jung
twice, right?
Lin.
Shane and Dennis went twice, didn't they?
Well, they went a couple times in 9 ball.
I
So,
thought they went twice in 10 ball.
I think they did over the course of the years. I think they did, but
Okay.
I think the when they played the 120 to 119, where Shane was up 114 to 91 or 92 or whatever, and ended up losing. That I believe was 9 ball. So that was, yeah. Anytime that Shane's ever played anybody in 10 ball, he won. I think Chang Jung Lin was very close though, if I remember right.
Such a
Those
beast of a player. Him.
But I mean, love Jason. Shane absolutely drilled Jason in 10 ball. So I mean, you look at this, and it's a lot like Alex Pagulayan, right? Where it's like nobody would play him for 20 years in one pocket, and so you
Yeah.
kind of forget how good he actually is at the game and how dominant of a run he actually had. And now Fedor's coming up. He's the flavor of the week, and everyone's oh my God, look how good this guy is. Nobody can beat him. And I think Shane's kind of sitting back like, really, dude, like, do you know who I am? Like, you
Yeah.
know that nobody's wanted to play me for 20 years now. And even Shane's tried to play filler. Now filler, of course, he's not a huge gambler to begin with, but I think that goes into a lot of why those two never played. But Shane was ready to pick up his cue at any point in time and play filler, and he couldn't get
Filler said he wouldn't play. I think Filler said he wouldn't play him, wouldn't he?
yeah.
Temple?
I know that
Pretty
it
much.
was on the, from what I was told, it was definitely on the filler side of things why that never happened. But
Right. Who do you think wins? Come on. Who do you think wins?
I can't say anybody but Shane until I see him beat in
Yeah.
10 ball. I
Okay.
mean, it's one of those things where every now and then somebody stepped up and was dumb enough to play Alex Pagulayan in one pocket.
Mm.
And every time they were dumb enough to do it, Alex Pagulayan reminded the world there are levels to this, and
Yeah.
nobody is on my level. Now, the great crime that I think there was in the one pocket world is that we never got to see Alex Pagulayan and Dennis Arcoyo in a big set.
Mm.
That was the one player I think that actually had a chance at dethroning Alex, but we never saw it. I think that anytime somebody stepped up and played Shane, now we haven't had much for gambling matches over the last like 3 years since COVID.
Yeah, there hasn't been room for it, has there?
There hasn't been room for it, and every time somebody steps up and says, here we go, it's time to do this, Shane stomped him out.
Yeah.
And until I see somebody come and dethrone Shane, I still got to say that he's the 10 ball king.
What do you think? Say Shane goes out. No, put it this way. What if Federer goes out there and absolutely hammers Shane? What do you think that does for Mosconi Cup come December and the team atmosphere? And
nothing.
Really?
As a great man once said, irrelevant.
I wouldn't say it would. I wouldn't say it would be irrelevant. If he's disrespected by what's happened so far, he will be massively fucking aggrieved if he gets twatted.
I don't think so. He's disrespected because he still thinks that he's there. If Federer goes out there and beats him by 40 games, then I mean, it's what can Shane do besides become humbled on it? I mean, there's nothing that he can do. I mean, it's one thing if he loses by 5 games or something like that, and Fedor goes out there and says, "Oh, all right, that's it. I'm the best. Nobody's as close to me." And a 5-game swing on that is absolutely nothing. I mean, if they played a race of 130, it doesn't even mean that Fedor would win at that point. But if he goes out there and batters him by 40 games, I mean, what can Shane do besides just say, "All right, I was there for 20 years. Congratulations, you've taken it over. My 24-year run of being the best 10-ball player in the world is over."
I think he'll be ready to flip the coin and go again straight away, Shane.
But Well, and maybe he would, but
Once won't be enough. But
it's
then
an
obviously,
entirely different game.
yeah,
Like Jason said, 10 ball is irrelevant. I
yeah,
mean, it is when it comes to the Mosconi Cup and 9 ball, especially those break rules. It's irrelevant.
yeah, it is. It is to a certain degree. I'm just wondering what it's going to do for the team and just the atmosphere around things. Because
Now,
it's not nothing, then you can't on one hand say, oh, it'll have zero effect. If this match means something, there'll be something to it. It won't, psychologically wise, I don't think it'll just disappear. But then obviously, Jim's brought it up. Kachi called both of them out, didn't he?
well, yeah, let's talk into that because I honestly do think that I think Kachi wins. I do think
so?
that Kachi absolutely. His break is so devastating. He hits the rack so damn hard. He average makes making like 2.5 balls per break. I think that Kachi beats both of them. I do.
I think to a set to 120, Kachi's so big and he will be breaking so hard. I just wonder how he'll hold up over 3 days. Do you know what I mean?
No,
His
I know
arm's
what you mean,
injured
but I
already.
don't think it's a problem at all. He's 24 years old, dude. When were you ever tired at 24?
I'm just saying. I think there's he's big lad.
He's 20 years younger than Shane.
Yeah, and he's got fucking half an arm. How's his arm going to hold up over 3 days?
But what we're talking about is, I mean, Kachi said right in his post, when my bridge hand gets healthy. So let's take that out of it because he's not, I mean, theoretically, according to his post, he's not even going to play it until he feels he's 100%.
Yeah, sure. But I mean,
if you're saying he's never going to be 100%, then sure.
Well, his arm is never going to be 100% again, is it?
It'll be 100% of what it can be.
Yeah, 100% of what it can be isn't 100% of what it was before. So it's just over 3 days. He might be fine for the first 2 days. He breaks so fucking hard. He breaks so hard.
I mean, how
can't
many
say after 3 days that it might not start hurting or it might not be a problem. It definitely could be. I'm not saying it will be. Obviously, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, he played a race to 11 and he played a race to 15, and his race to 11 went in the World Pool Championships. What did his race to 11 go in the semifinals? I don't even.
It was race to 13 in the semis, wasn't it?
Yeah, that might be. So he played. I mean, theoretically, he played a race at 28 at least. I mean, and he looked stronger at the end of the race to 15 than he did at any point in time in that entire day, right?
Yeah, probably breaking at about 70% of the speed of what his 10 ball break is. Sure. He still crashes them, doesn't he, on a 9 ball table?
Still hits them pretty good.
Yeah, but like he said, and to be fair, he shouldn't have really needed to say it himself. Somebody else should have come to his defense, but he had to say it himself.
No,
2-time world 10 ball champion.
He's got to say that. Why wouldn't you? I mean,
no, I'm not saying he shouldn't. I'm saying I'm surprised nobody came to his defense first, but he's had to come out and say it.
Well, I think that's kind of his point, right? I mean, you look at the guy, and he has 3 medals in 3 years, and should somebody come to his defense? Absolutely, but I think that's kind of the point of his is he's an afterthought in 10 ball. I mean, if you named your top, I think if you took the poll of, let's say we're sitting here doing a podcast, we have 40 people watching. If we go to those 40 people and we tell them rank your top 5 players in 10 ball, I don't know that Kachi makes it on 15 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think on every single person, you're going to have Shane, Fedor, Josh. From there, could you put it on? Yeah, you probably can put it on. And maybe a lot of players would have him, or a lot of people would have him 4th or 5th, or maybe 6th or 7th or something like that. But that's kind of his point, is like, what more do you want the guy to do? He has 3 medals in 3 years. And he's just completely an afterthought. I mean, I honestly, once he made that post and I really thought about it, Kachi won. Yeah, Kachi won some of those 10 ball Predator Tour stops too. I mean, I don't think he won as many as Fedor, but I don't think he played as many of him as him either.
Mm.
I mean, he definitely won the Austrian Open. He won the World 10 ball twice because he beat Tyler Steyer in the final of the Austrian Open. I want to say he may have won the Ohio Open, if I remember right. I mean,
did he win that? Did he win the Las Vegas?
He never won the Las Vegas Open,
No.
but he won the World 10 Ball on the backside of it 2 out of 3 years.
Yeah. He didn't win it, no?
I don't think he did.
I'm
I
trying to
know
remember
Victor
who's won that
Zielinski.
night.
Victor Zielinski
Zielinski won
won
it
it.
twice. Did he win it back to back, Zielinski?
I don't know if it was back to back, but he won the I to be honest, I'm not sure.
No, I can't remember now. I don't think he did win it back to back.
Yeah, this is I mean, I'm looking
Voic-
at his Wikipedia is just like absolutely awful. I mean, it doesn't even have on here either of his world championships. So I mean, this is I
Who's
guess
catchy?
yeah, on his Wikipedia page. I mean, I guess it shows up, I guess, up at the top, but it doesn't show it in the career title. So
Wojciech won the World 10 Ball, right?
yes, he won it the year that Kachi did not. He beat the player from Peru,
Colombia, or
I think it was. Was it
Ecuador?
somewhere in South America? I'm blanking on where it is. His name starts with a T. I haven't seen him since.
Yeah, I know, and he was good player as well. Christopher Tevez.
Yeah.
Tevez.
Yeah. Telvers. Yeah. He was a nice player. But
Yeah.
well, I mean,
Player, yeah.
you see that a lot. You see that a lot. I mean, you could argue that Muhammad Sufi had the same run. You could say the Loho Sum had the same run. You know, they kind of pop up here and there, and they have like a little run at one tournament, and then you never. Not that you never see him again, but I mean, you don't see him anywhere near the tail end of a tournament again.
That's just pool, though, isn't it? That's just the nature of the game. There's so much involved that has nothing to do with how high a caliber a player you are.
And so many top players, right? There's just so many top players.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think? I mean, do you think Kachi wins? Do you think loses? What do you think?
I don't fucking know, mate. I don't know. I do not have a clue. I do not have a clue. What do you think?
I think Kachi beats both of them.
Do you think he beats both of them?
I think I do. I think he beats both of them. It's so another thing, and I was just about to say this. Kachi has shown that he can play on a shot clock, but I mean, there's something. Could you imagine, like Kachi playing his normal speed, not with the shot clock, but his normal speed, and putting a 7-pack on you? That might take, honestly, it might take 45 minutes for him to do that with his normal speed.
Yeah,
that's tough. That is tough to fade.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I don't. When I watch him play without a shot clock, I don't automatically register that he's slow.
Well, he's not Jonathan Hennessy slow, but he's between 30 and 45 seconds regularly.
Yeah, it just doesn't. I think for me, because he's one of the players that's very interesting to watch just as much around the table as on the table. So I like watching the way he walks around and how he does things. He's just one of those players for me. So I agree. He doesn't register as being as slow for me ever. I never thought about it that way.
I mean, he's definitely slow. I mean, he's one of the slowest players on tour that actively plays. I mean, Kachi is such a weird player for me, because like on his face, and I'll just be honest, I don't like him. I don't like rooting for him. I feel like I just feel like he's overly smug. I mean, he's got perfection on his neck. Like, I mean, he just, nothing about him like makes me want to root for him. But I'm like you. I love watching him play.
Yeah.
I love the way he plays his patterns. I love how he's got a look in his eyes. And Josh has this too, but he's got a look in his eyes that, like, when he sees a shot, like when he gets down on a tough shot, there is not a doubt in my mind he's going to make the shot. Now, he might not make it, but I think he's going to make everything that he shoots at because he's just oozing with confidence on anything that he shoots at.
I'm sure in his mind he thinks he's never gonna miss or mess. I bet there's no doubts in his mind about literally anything, and I think that's
No,
maybe why he comes across as that way to you. I see what you mean.
but like
Yeah.
I don't like him, but I can't help that I actually like really like him. I like watching him play. I mean, I want to hate him, and I think a lot of people are like this with Joshua Filler, like too, like they want to hate him because of how smug he is and how arrogant he is and how he does all the woo right and the Mosconi Cup stuff and whatever it is, but you find yourself not rooting for him, but you find yourself in awe of just the way he plays the game. And
Some people are just so good it doesn't matter what they.
yeah,
Yeah, doesn't matter, does it?
I mean, I'm a little like that with like Djokovic in tennis too. Like I just
Yeah,
absolutely hate the guy. I've always been
yeah.
a
I don't like
Nadal guy.
Djokovic, but yeah,
I've always been a Nadal guy. So I naturally I just hate Djokovic. But and Tom Brady the same way for like American football. Like sometimes you just got to give it to him. I mean, it's like
hmm
you're in awe of what they do. You might not like them, but you are absolutely in awe of what
yeah,
they can do at their
yeah,
craft. And I find myself liking Kachi more and more and more as like the better he gets and the more dominant he becomes, the less recognition he seems to get for it. And it's almost like he's an underdog while also very, very possibly being the best player in the world right now.
yeah.
I know
It,
Fedor beat him, but it took Hill. And if you look at their records in the last 2 years, Kachi has a lot more wins than Fedor.
I mean, the thing about the final was Catchy before he played his last shot, where he was. Catchy was like 1 to 10 favorite to win the match because he's got that snooker to play, right? You never think he's going to go in off. You never think he's going to scratch. So at that moment in time, he's huge favorite to be world champion. And 3 seconds later, it's fucking flipped and it's gone. It's
That I
so
don't.
weird.
That I don't agree with because
You don't
I
think if he hooks him tight?
well the hook him or hook him tight.
Yeah, I mean hook him tight. He was trying to go bottom rail. He's trying to go side rail, bottom rail, right?
I don't think he was trying to go. I don't think he was trying to
There
lock
is
on
no.
those balls.
I don't think there's any professional player in the world that plays that one cushioning in behind purely because of the scratch factor. That you take the scratch out of it by playing for the bottom rail.
I mean,
Granted,
Chris.
he's hit it bad. He's hit it bad, but
Well, Chris, you and I are. You could combine our games, and we are still a shell compared to what Eklund Kachi can do on the table.
oh yeah.
He didn't just forget to put left hand spin on that ball. I think he was playing it that way, or
I think he's hit
maybe.
it bad.
Well, I think he's hit it bad, but I mean, he hit it a tip and a half bad. Then a tip and a half of left hand spin bad.
Well, I
That is
mean,
not a miss that a
he,
professional player has.
he. I mean, what are you saying? He hit it good.
No, I'm saying he hit it
There's no
exactly the
question he
way he
hit it
was.
bad.
No. I think he was shooting the shot he was trying to shoot. I think he just overhit
Yeah,
it.
I, I mean, I disagree,
The
but
well, the
that's fair enough. But
the miss that you're talking about means that he didn't put a tip and a half of left hand spin on it when he was
oh
trying
no,
to.
he didn't catch the object ball as thick as what he thought he would. He didn't get the reaction that he thought he would.
I maybe I just don't think the cue ball didn't react off that cushion like he had two tips of spin like he would have needed.
Yeah, I mean, but before he's played that shot, as he's come to the table, he's definitely favourite to be world champion because he's got the hook to play.
He's
And you,
he's he's favorite, but I think he's like 40-60 favorite.
yeah,
You can't put a jump cue in Fedor's hand and not think that he's live to make anything he touches. I mean, that guy's he's just too good with the jump cue to not think that
there's
he's.
chances, but I mean, all things considered, let's just say Catchy was favourite because he was when he went to the table, and then for that error to happen and for it all to flip, it just showed, I Catchy doesn't talk much, does he? I don't think he goes on to podcasts, but I'd love just to hear from him, like what he thinks about the final 2 minutes of that rack, or just the
I think
final
yeah.
shot.
I think that Kachi is the most fascinating person in the pool world to me right now, and has
Yeah,
been for a while because
yeah,
he doesn't talk much.
he is a bit of an enigma, isn't he? Yeah,
And
he's
he
like
and he's
yeah,
it's just weird to me that like he's almost taking on this underdog role of like being an afterthought, even though every single year he's in the finals of 3 to 5 major events, and he wins 2 to 3 of them.
Yeah. Without the injury, if he'd won the World Nine Ball, then there'd be no question in people's minds. Everybody would be saying it, right? He's the best, blah blah blah. And what I'm getting at is, he's one mental error away from everybody saying he's hands down the best. 3-time world champion over a 4-year period, and fucking the rest would be history, wouldn't it? It's just so odd. But we're going to get to see him in Moscone again. Absolutely guaranteed this time, failing any mad accidents or
and the inaugural Efren Reyes Cup, right?
Yeah. So he's got to be at both of those, isn't he? I thought it was interesting last time he was in Moscone, watching him in the team atmosphere, because if there's anybody that's not going to come naturally to, you would think it would be Catchy, because he's so laser focused, single-minded sort of character. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on again this time.
I do honestly think too that going back to 2018, and I don't want to throw Kazakis under the bus, because Kazakis is one of my favorite people in the pool world. I mean, his goofy attitude and just the way he handles himself, I absolutely love Kazakis, both on and off the table. But I think that Kachi kind of gets a bad rep from his performance in the Moscone Cup, not only because of the way he played, but because he wasn't the only rookie that year, and he wasn't the only player that played poorly.
Who was the other rookie? Fedor?
Kazakis.
Kazakis was a rookie the same year as Kachi?
2018.
Really? Wow. Did not know that.
And then I think Kachi played again the next year, but Kazakis did not.
What, so Kachi was in it when he was 18?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, he played the Moscone Cup when he was let me pull it up, but it was Kazakis and Kachi were on that team that year. It was Alexander, Kazakis, Eklund, Kachi, Niels Fine, Albin Ocean, Jason Shaw.
Wow. I was gutted to see Chris Melling lose in the quarters, wasn't it?
Because he's so close to breaking through, isn't he?
I'd love for him to get back in Moscone. I'd love for him to be back in it. But
no chance. Zero chance.
I don't think that's true.
I don't think that there's any prayer in the world. He doesn't play enough events, and he's never gonna. So he can sure, win. But he's never going to get a wild card, and he plays too many disciplines to play a full schedule of 9-ball pool.
I think he can win, though. I think he can win. So that might be enough one day.
I don't disagree that he can win. I don't think that he can win more than his contemporaries on that schedule.
One win might be enough 1 year. I wouldn't say it's over for him, that's for sure.
I would take the under on him ever playing it. I don't think he'll ever get a wild card from Jason.
He's not favourite to ever play again, for sure, but it's definitely not impossible. I would, if he just focused a bit more on it. The problem is, if every tournament,
Kachi and Kazakis played again in 2019. So they both played in 2018 and in 2019. They were both rookies in 2018.
Okay.
So, anyways, go ahead.
I can't remember what I was saying.
I mean, the only way that I can see him making the team is if he does have a semis run in the Worlds, because he's not going to go around and collect enough of these $7,000 and $8,000 purses on these side tournaments to be able to fade the people who are, and he's never going to get. I mean, I could be wrong on this, but I do not see Jason Shaw ever giving him a wild card, no matter what.
I don't know if that's true, but
well, you're gonna have to take it over. I mean, Filler, Kachi, him. I mean, most years Jason's going to be a wild card, and if he's the playing captain, there's only one wild card to go around. Are you going to take it?
I know he's not. I know he's not favorite. I'm just saying I'd like to see him back in it, and it's not impossible because he can win. So I think that's probably all all that matters. If you can win and get a couple of high finishes, then it can definitely happen for him. It's not going to happen this year, obviously, but next year, who knows? He's got more talent than anybody, bar Filler and maybe Zielinski, maybe Jay. But he's definitely up there, the most talented players. Those guys, you just never know what they can achieve.
That I do not question. I agree with you 100%.
Do anything.
But I think that the way the schedule is coming out now, with the amount of events that are on the calendar, if you're not playing the Scottish Open and the Battle of the Bull and
it's not viable, though, is it?
McDermott Open, and it is
It's
for a lot of players. There's a lot of players still doing it.
No, a lot of players aren't paying out of their own pocket. You know, it's not viable to spend 150 grand to win 30 or 40 to give yourself a chance of getting in Moscone come the last few tournaments at the end of the year. You know,
what I'm getting at is 30 to 40,000 will probably get you in contention on the US side of things. 30 or 40 might not get you in the top 10 in Europe.
Yeah, that's not what I said. I said if you had 30 or 40 coming into contention for the last few events, the end run of the year, you're in contention then, and you can say,
correct.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
So, but yeah, it's just not viable. It's not viable for anybody unless you've got a benefactor. And you know, if you're Fedor, Filler, or Kachi or someone, and you're winning more often than you're cashing high or winning, then brilliant. But otherwise, there's no business in the world where you can spend 100 to win 30 or to make 30 or something. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, you still never told me. What do you think? Do you think Kachi wins or not?
I don't fucking know. I honestly, mate, I don't know. I just say Shane. I'll just say Shane all the way. I'll stick with Shane.
All right, Kachi or Fedor? I asked you a question. I didn't like.
I don't know. It goes down to the last 2 racks. I don't know. Toss a coin. I don't know. I will bet you though when they play. We'll have a bet, and I'll just pick whoever you don't pick, just out of badness.
Well, that's usually a pretty good bet. Whenever I take a side, it's usually pretty good to be on the other side of it. You'll be cashing some checks if you're on the other side of me. Okay, well, I don't know. I mean, that's the discussions that we had today. You want to talk about? Let's talk about Jim's questions because he's asking questions, and why not? Mickey Krause, any feelings?
I may not have his last name correct. He's pushing now, isn't he? He's one of those players that's pushing and going deeper. He gets to play in a lot of events, so he's pushing on.
I mean, he's one of 40 European players that are kind of young and up and coming that are waiting for a breakthrough, right? I mean, he's in that Sanjin Pelovanovic, Alex,
Sanjin's
from Serbia.
Pekelj.
Sanjin's ahead of him. Yeah, Pekelj, Alexa Pekelj. I mean, he's definitely ahead of him. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Moritz Neuhausen. He's on the tail end of that group of players that are young and up and coming.
Yeah,
that are waiting for a breakthrough. I mean, even
he seems to play in more events than
just about anyone.
I mean, so it worked for Kazakis all those years ago, didn't it? Playing literally every tournament, and it'll click, and you'll start to win, and good things will start to happen. So if it's just a case of inertia and just going through it, then he's definitely going through it. And something. I mean,
he's definitely a solid player. But I mean, I've never watched him play and be like, "Ooh, this guy's got what it takes." It's just a matter of time. I kind of look at him as like and I don't want to like sound rude or anything like that, but I kind of look at him as like a Dennis Graba or even like a Mark Beisterbosch type of like a player that's been around for a very long time and they have a ton of talent, but they're not going to make any of your top 10 lists of the best players in the world at any given time.
But they asked all the Matchroom pundits last year before the season started. I think they asked all the Matchroom pundits who they thought their breakthrough player would be, and one of them did say Mickey Krause. I can't remember who it was.
That's because they don't have a job at Matchroom anymore.
I think it was Carl.
Come on, that was a pretty funny joke. No, I mean, Mickey's. I've been around him a few times. I've had a few discussions with him. He's an okay person. I mean, he's not like he doesn't seem to be super outgoing or ready to have a discussion on deep thoughts or anything like that. But he's I would say he's a nice journeyman pool player that's dangerous to. You definitely don't want to take him lightly. I mean, according to Fargarate, he's exactly 780 right now, which
Okay. I thought he would
you
have
know.
been higher. Okay.
So I mean, that puts him. I mean, if you go into the top players in the world, 780. It doesn't even go that low. And it shows how talented the pool world is right now. But 784 is the lowest it goes to get into the top 100. And players around him, another player that I think that's kind of right in that category, waiting for a breakthrough, is Jonas Sota. Oscar Dominguez is right there. Karl Skorwowski from Poland, Jani Juski from Finland, Mohamed Sufi, Claudio Cacci. I mean, all of these players are kind of right in that range.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's that's right about right. I mean, Jesus Intencio, Christopher Tevez, Tobias Bongers. I mean, all of these players are kind of right in that range.
Yeah.
Definitely not Johan Chua. Johan Chua is not in that range. Johan Chua is an absolute beast.
What's happened? Have we lost the World Cup of Pool? What's going on? You know something
Well,
I don't.
I had see this is kind of like the issue of like the Matchroom side of things, right? So Matchroom likes to be the people that make their announcements, and they do not like it when people go ahead of their marketing and announce information they are not ready to announce yet. Michael Pinozzo did that on 2 events, and
yeah, I saw that.
I am not going. I play within the rules of Matchroom because ultimately, not only do I have the healthy fear of Matchroom and their decisions that they can make. I also believe in what they're doing, and if they believe that their vision, which involves not breaking news that shouldn't be broken, is best for the industry, then, to be honest with you, I mean it's a thing that I struggle with, and I have struggled with, and I've come to the conclusion that I am a reporter in this industry. I'd like to think that I am, at least, and there are some things that I do not believe that I should be breaking.
You didn't? Yeah, I know.
For the long-term success of the industry.
Yeah, so, no, I'm not asking you to portray any confidences, but I'm genuinely gutted that it's not going to be on, because I think it's probably my favorite. It's probably my favorite event.
I think that it's the one that has the most potential, but it's not my favorite event because I can't stand the idea that they're going to have players coming from New Zealand on a 16 to 24-hour plane ride, and they get to the table once in a race to 7.
You're representing your country. You do what you've got to do. It's not like a normal setup. That's why I like that tournament.
Yeah. It's a single elimination 32 team tournament that takes usually like 4 days. There's no reason that event can't be a race to 11 to 13.
Yeah, it's any other reason than it's just not the format. But yeah, but I do love that event, so I'll be gutted if that doesn't go ahead this year. That is upsetting, but they've probably got something else up their sleeve, something better.
Well, they're giving us the Reyes Cup, so if we're gonna lose out on the World Cup of Pool and we get the Reyes Cup, I think as an industry we still won.
Yeah, for sure. But did you say Jim had more questions in there?
The Johan Chua part of it. I mean, it's and then he made the statement that Mickey Krause beat Oscar in a money game recently. Not only did it beat him, I think he robbed him. I mean, I think he literally just beat the brakes off of him bad.
Did he?
Yeah, it was like. I'm just going off of memory from something that was kind of happening at the back end of something, but I want to say 15 to 7 or something like that. I don't remember what the race is, but I mean, he beat him bad.
Yeah.
He caught a gear. I mean, he definitely has that. I mean, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Well, I mean, generally speaking, so I mean, just for full clarity on stuff. Generally speaking, when we have a lot of stuff to discuss, we kind of have like a plan in place on what we want to discuss today. Chris and I said on here for like 5 minutes before, like, what the hell are we even going to talk about? Like, there's just not a lot in there, and we made some stuff up, and we talked about baseball, and we talked about Premier League, and we talked about a lot of stuff that doesn't really mean anything. We want, generally speaking, we want fan participation, or people that are watching, we want them to participate. It's just that sometimes, with our planned discussion, especially when we have 2, 3, 4 people in here, it gets a little hectic, and we kind of have a vision in place. Today we didn't. We just wanted to just basically talk. So, I mean, we're at 90 minutes right now. That's pretty long for us. But I mean, if there's more questions, I don't care.
Yeah, and if people do want us to talk about something or answer questions, just fire them in the chat or spam Nate's inbox with them.
The best way. I mean, a lot of your questions come up kind of on the fly, I'm sure. But like, if you have something that you want us to talk about on the podcast, send them over to us. I mean, we'll actually build them into the planning of the podcast and make sure that they get answered then. Yep. So that's and I mean, you could always do that at Queue It Up podcast@gmail.com. You could do it on our Facebook page, our Instagram page. You can blow up Chris's inbox. He likes talking, especially at 3 a.m. He just never shuts up at 3 a.m.
I never even look at Facebook, so yeah, you're not going to get me. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess I don't know. You want to hang it? Well, I'll thank our sponsors because they honestly do. They allow us to do what we do here. So, thank you to Lippman Lights. Some of the best. I think the best pool lights out there. As far as the other lights, there's some that are like really good, but as far as like the perfect amount of light on a table, Lippman Lights is far and away the best in my opinion. Horo tips. Some of the best tips out there. I use them on my break cue and on my jump cue. A couple players like Albin Ocean use them. Kelly Fisher, really, really, really good. And I got a bunch of stock of them. So if you want to try them out, you can always send me a message. I can ship you some. Onboard Sportswear, 9Ball, official partner of 9Ball Pool and the WNT. Best apparel out there, bar none. Digital Pool, I think the best tournament bracket software out there as well. I use it for all my tours or my stop. I have a queued up tour stop that Mike Taylor runs in Wisconsin and the upper Midwest. We use Digital Pool for all that stuff. Solato, I mean, my absolute go-to app whenever I'm on the road. If I want to meet up with somebody and play some pool, you can put out a game request and you can just meet up with somebody and play some pool. Billiards Digest, I mean, speaks for itself. Far and away the best magazine for 50 years and counting. Michael Pinoza does incredible work over there. Insight Performance Coaching. You want to get your mental game right. You got to get yourself the mental side of the game. We always practice our banks, our jumps, our break shots, our, whatever. We practice everything, but nobody ever practices the mental side of the game. This is going to help you with all that. And then, of course, our title sponsor is Jacoby Custom Cues. I think the best cues. I got to show you this cue. I know that you hate flashy cues, and you don't like to see anything that looks nice. Blah, 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 blah. But I got to show you this cue from Jacoby Custom Cues that I just bought. This thing is absolutely insane.
I just don't like the ones that
gotta find out what I'm gonna.
Rhinestones and glitter and shit on them.
Rhinestones and glitter.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna bedazzle your pool cue anytime soon? Is that what you're telling me?
No. I don't even know where it is actually.
Wow.
I did see it.
We're gonna pull this up. We're gonna take a look at this because this thing is honestly, it's like one of the most beautiful cues I think that I've ever seen. I mean, maybe I'm being a little bit out of there, but I think it's incredible. I just gotta get this stupid thing to load. I don't know why it's not loading.
What is this cue you've ordered?
Yeah, I just saw it and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta have that cue. Okay. That's literally it. As I just saw the cue and I'm like, oh, holy buckets. So I ended up getting it. And here it is. What do you think of this? You'll hate it because you hate flashy things.
Oh, no, I like that. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty nice, right?
Yeah, because there's quite a lot of neutral color there going on, apart from all the fire stuff in the middle. That is, you know what? That's nice. I like that.
With all that buffalo turquoise in there too. Woo wee!
Yeah,
I
it's
love this
nice.
queue.
Yeah.
Jacoby does absolutely incredible work. One of the best, if not the best, probably the best custom queue that also kind of mass produces. I think I heard a stat like 40% of the queues that they roll out, including jump queues and break queues, are like one of a kind queues. Now they might
Wow,
make a bunch of queues that are similar to it, but like they're one offs. I mean that's it.
that's
This is one
crazy.
of those queues. This is a one off queue. This is a one of a kind, and it's just something that they pump out daily. So
That's just incredible, isn't it?
yeah, it's the great queue company. It's a family owned business from Nakusa, Wisconsin. You've never heard of it. I promise you never will. But that is one of the best queue companies out there, and they give a ton back to the game. And obviously, the title sponsor of this podcast. So get yourself a Jacoby Custom Queue. You can do that at jacobicustomqueues.com, or you can reach out to me and I can get you hooked up with any queue that you want. That's it, I guess. I don't know. Maybe you can talk about that next time the changes sound good for the players.
Something to do with the cup. I'm not sure. We'll have to look into that because I don't know what that means. And there's also something there about the juniors. I saw that some juniors were playing one pocket the other day. The stream looked good, X Pool or something. It looked good, but I don't know what the tournament was. I watched it for a few minutes. It was pretty good standard, but I don't know.
Yeah, why wasn't there any commentary on it? I mean, honestly, you just have to reach out to the streamers for that. I always find it a little bit. I don't want to. I find it weird when there's commentary on junior pool, and I don't know why. I struggle with the idea that we should like a lot. It depends on the commentary and what you're doing with it, but I don't like the idea of critiquing 8, 9, 10, all the way up to 16-year-olds on their game and what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. I find that weird.
I
I don't
think
know.
he's saying, "Why aren't we talking about it?"
Why aren't we talking about the? I mean, I guess to be honest with you, I mean, I saw some of it, but I didn't have it on the radar. To be honest with you, I
I
guess
didn't. I didn't either.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't see any of it. I didn't watch any of it. I shouldn't say I didn't. I didn't watch enough of it to talk about it educatedly. To be honest with you,
Yeah,
that's why.
I can't see anything on AZ either. I flicked through AZ earlier, but I didn't see anything about it.
It wasn't on my radar enough to sit down and watch enough of it to be able to talk about. So there's no better. I mean, I don't have a better answer than that, unfortunately. Hayden Hurst, that kid is. Oh my god, that kid is insane. Hayden Hurst and Sam Henderson. That's the list. That's the future of U.S. pool right there. Those two are absolutely going to be incredible. They already are. Chris, I think you should come over and play Sam a big set. Race to 120 for 50 push-ups.
50 push-ups.
I'll take the kid.
I'd have to lose some weight before I put myself up for 50 push-ups.
maybe you and Kachi can to go on a little diet before he plays the winner of Shane and Fedor, and you can lose a little weight so you don't have to stop after 12 push-ups.
Do you know what? I went to an English pool tournament last weekend, and usually now at the 9-ball events, I'm used to seeing people in good shape. So it's usually like me and a couple of others that are the fattest ones in the room, right? And I went to this English pool tournament last weekend, and I swear to God, the people are so out of shape. I forgot how far behind that game is compared to 9-ball.
There's some big boys,
big girls as well, like units, like big people, and small
I think you should
tables.
switch to that
It
game.
looks so weird.
Yeah, it is. What's the controversy with these new tables? Like I'm watching some of these English 8-ball videos, and they're like people that are hitting at the third diamond and they're still falling in.
They're not new tables. Well, I mean, they're the tables that have always been used, but the pockets are the same size. So Chris measured them, and he swears they're the same size that they've always been. But
is this like an IKEA version of it? Like, can you go down to your local IKEA and just like pick this up and assemble it yourself?
They're all made by a company called Supreme, and the World Championship tables have been Supreme tables for like as long as I've been playing anyway. But for some reason, the last couple of years, the table that they use on TV plays bigger than the rest of the tables. It's a different model table, and for some reason, it plays bigger, and it plays way too big. It's just crazy. It's just
Do you think it?
absolutely crazy.
Do you think it has anything to do with the lights? Do you think that they're adding extra lights to it, the production, and then
It
that's
has got
heating
extra
up the?
lights. It's got extra lights. It might be that the cloth's a little bit thinner. It might be that the material they're using on the
Oh,
inside of the jaws is a little softer. It could be anything. It could literally be anything, but they're definitely playing bigger, and they have been for like 2 years now. But that doesn't matter because from I think the end of this month, all of the tables are going to be Rasson. So Rasson have made an English pool table, and all the Pro Tours are going to be played on them. The problem is that a Supreme pool table is about 1,500 quid, say, and a Rasson is like 1,000 more expensive. So it's a bit of a problem for people getting hold of them and practicing on them. But the Rasson table is supposed to be much improved on everything that we've seen before. So it should be interesting. If you really want controversy, a trans lady won the professional women's pool tournament last weekend, English 8 ball.
Isn't she? Hasn't she just been like dominating the scene like the last?
Yeah.
And there's like the same woman, like she had to play her like 2 or 3 times in the finals and just refused to play.
Yeah, people have been refusing to play her, and then the governing body put out a statement in like, I don't know, December or something, and said for the upcoming year, people will have to essentially play in the brackets. You know, if you were born a male, you've got to play in the men's bracket, sort of thing. And they put out that statement. And what I understand is that there's more than one trans player. So I think maybe they got together and basically said, if you enforce this, like, we're going to take you to court and we're going to sue you, and you don't have the money to do it. So back down. And they've backed down. So now the trans person is playing. The trans person who keeps winning the ladies' events. Am I saying that right? Trans person, or is it supposed to be trans lady? Was trans? I don't know.
I think transgender is fine.
Okay, that person is playing in the ladies' world championship, which started a couple of days ago. So she's probably going to be world champion as well, which is just, yeah. See, that's some controversy you don't have to deal with in 9 ball, at least.
Well, not at the professional level.
No, not well. Yeah,
and there are a few. There's a few in our state organization that's the same way.
Yeah. What
there's no good answer. I mean, there really is no good. I mean,
they're allowed to play in the ladies. So if they were born a man, they're allowed to play in the ladies ones.
So actually, there's a few organizations in Wisconsin that do allow it, and then there's a few that say no.
Yeah.
So it kind of just depends on the organization that's ultimately kind of what this all comes down to is like, how do you draw the line when there really isn't a line that can be drawn? Wherever you put it at, if you put the line right here, these people are going to be upset that it's too far. And if you put it over here, these people are going to be upset that it's too far. There's really no good answer for this. And the only probably the solution that probably is going to work for everybody is if there are now 3 categories of players. And if you have 3 categories of players, you're splitting the money one more time.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. But like, what if somebody no, let's not go down that route. Let's leave that alone.
It is what it is, man. There's no good answer. That's what I've come to. Anybody who thinks that there is a correct answer on this is I just don't. I think that there just is one. I don't know. Sucks. Anyways, that seems like a really good way to close off this podcast. Let's see how many people can get angry at us. Maybe we'll be canceled. That could be fun.
I'm surprised that hasn't happened.
Yeah, with Jim on the podcast.
Jim, yeah, it's gonna be Jim that ends it.
Should be. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you guys for participating in the comments, and we will see you next week, I guess. Yeah.